Hello everybody, it's D-Loaded here. In this episode of Building Tutorial, we are going to cover an often overlooked topic, and that is color. Now, the three most important elements to a build are shape, detail, and color. Color is extremely important. It can take an ordinary build to the next level if done correctly. In this video, we're going to talk about a lot of different color combinations and just give you some general inspiration and ideas. But before we talk about that, we have to cover one more thing. That is cost. Now, in creative mode, everything is free. But in survival, different blocks are a lot harder to get than others. Some especially harder to get than others. So this castle, for instance, which is made of, a great combination of blocks, but quartz and prismarine being the two highlight standout colors here. Those are two of the most expensive blocks in the game if you're playing in a normal vanilla situation. Building something out of quartz blocks is about equivalent to building something out of coal blocks, if you can imagine doing that. It is very hard to get a large enough amount of quartz. Same thing with prismarine. Both light and dark prismarine are incredibly hard to get in vanilla. Prismarine, you have to go to a sea temple, you have to mine out the sea temple, you have to kill all of the guardians inside. That is a ridiculous endeavor. It's going to take you like 4 or 5 hours to get enough of it to do anything. Okay, so prismarine, another one, is another material that is very expensive. Bricks are kind of in between. I'm talking about red bricks. They're kind of an in-between cost material. Clay is pretty much everywhere, but there is an extensive process to get enough clay to actually be able to make enough bricks. So bricks are kind of an intermediate cost. Terracotta is kind of an intermediate cost material as well, because you have to have access to the biome. If you have access to a biome, a terracotta biome, then terracotta is cheap. It just depends. Another material that is actually pretty expensive in vanilla Minecraft is obsidian, because of the long process involved with mining it. So you can use these more expensive materials to denote wealth, power, other things like that. But first, let's talk about substitution. What do you do if you want a specific color, but you don't have the expensive material that you need to make it? So here I am back in the build world. I'm going to show you a couple concepts when it comes to saving materials and substituting one thing for another. So as we talked about before, some of these materials are really, really expensive. Quartz, crazy expensive to get a lot of, to be able to actually build with it. Prismarine's a nightmare. Copper is pretty hard to get a lot of if you want to build with that. It is really, really common, but it's also just hard to get a lot of it. Obsidian's also kind of hard to get. Obsidian has other properties, though, that make it worthwhile. So, if you want to build something white, but you don't have a lot of terracotta, the easy answer is diorite. Diorite is extremely readily available. It's white, it looks good, it's basically the same color. It actually has a lot more texture than quartz, which gives it kind of a personality that quartz doesn't have. And I think there are a lot of advantages to actually just building with diorite. So don't be afraid to pick up the diorite and build something with diorite. Another cool, cheap, and often overlooked block is granite, polished granite. So you can use polished granite to create block variation in something that's made of bricks. You can combine the polished granite and the bricks because they're roughly the same color. You can use it as the foundation. You can just, in fact, you could build this entire tower out of polished granite and it would probably still look okay. And polished granite is very cheap. Now, another thing you can do is you can go into the Nether and you can get warped planks. Warped planks are kind of an exotic material, but they're actually not that hard to get if you just have access to the Nether biome that these naturally spawn in. I mean, these are like not quite exactly the same color, but it's close. It's close, and it does have that texture. And if you're thinking about doing a roof material, there's always, you know, the 15 billion different colors of terracotta that you might be interested in. You have a lot of options when it comes to getting specific shades of colors that you want. I mean, that's almost the same. That's almost the same shade right there. And there are plenty of other things you can pull out that are vaguely similar. I mean, that's vaguely a similar color. Hell, you can even pull out dripstone. You know, just use whatever you have available. Be creative with your choices. So I'm going to show off some pre-made houses that I've done here. And hopefully this will give you some ideas of some color combinations you can try out. One thing I should talk about is that every single build should have at least 3 main colors. There is the wooden frame, and bear in mind that what I'm saying applies to the medieval style that I build with. If you're doing something else, something futuristic, modern, you're going to have, the rules are going to be a little bit different. But the idea of having at least 3 main colors in a build is a pretty solid idea no matter what you're doing. So the first color is always the frame of the building, the wooden frame of the building. So in this case, I chose dark oak. Beautiful, beautiful color. One of the best wood colors in my opinion, especially for making these timber frame houses. You want the frame of your building to be dark so that there's a lot of contrast with both the walls and the roof of the building. And, you know, here's all the standard details that I typically do to give the building depth and everything like that. This is kind of how you should be thinking about it. You should be thinking frame. Then the next step is to fill in the walls with a wall filler material. That's your second color. So I said there's 3 colors. First floor, I usually always make it stone brick, and then the second floor and third floor, any subsequent floor, is the wall filler material that I chose. So this is kind of the default house colors for a medieval house. It's wool used to represent the kind of stucco, white washed walls that medieval buildings had. And then the roof, basic brown spruce planks. There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this design, but it could benefit from a little bit more color. And of course the wool is pretty plain. You can do crazy block variation like I did over here if you want. Again, all of these are just various white blocks that are vaguely the same color. Another interesting thing I should note probably is that white pretty much goes with everything. If your walls are white, you can make the roof color almost anything you want, and it will still, generally speaking, look good. It's just a side note. So I took this building, copy-pasted it just to show you, and repainted the colors. So, interesting option here. If you want to use birch wood, you can use birch planks and then the stripped birch logs to create block variation. That gives you a nice kind of yellowed wall look. And then for the roof, I kind of wanted something that's very fantasy-esque, that pops, has a lot of contrast. So I painted the roof 2 different colors of terracotta. It's the pink variations, so magenta and purple. That's something that I think when people are in survival mode, they just don't think to do. Like, you can dye terracotta any color you want, and you can do crazy fantasy colors. It looks pretty cool. Here's another idea. What about having bricks mixed with terracotta to make the wall? Again, these are both red colored materials, so they go well together. And then the roof can be kind of a bluish green type color, using both a mix of the warped planks, which again I talked about being very cheap, with a more expensive material, the dark prismarine. You could do 100% dark prismarine if you wanted to, but then you're losing out on the block variation, and it's a little bit more expensive. So again, a red cyan, another really good color combination for you to try out. It's a really good combination. Here's another idea. Okay, what if the building itself is actually painted green? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I mean, I used green terracotta, and then I also used green concrete powder. And the concrete powder has a texture that the terracotta just lacks. You can also, if you wanted, you could put lime terracotta in there. You could even put green wool, hypothetically. And that's like not that bad. Looks okay. Always think about what's a block that's like kind of the same color, has a maybe interesting texture. Just throw it in there. If you want to try it out, throw it in there. I mean, when I first made that building over there and I put the birch logs, I thought this is going to be really weird. But then when I did it, it was okay. So don't be afraid to experiment. And the roof for this, I just went with a basic gray colored roof with terracotta and the brand new deep slate, which someday we will get on 2B2T. Someday in the future. Fingers crossed, right? So in conclusion, these are some just ideas and tools you can use to improve your builds. Remember that all builds consist of 3 elements: shape, detail, and color. Good color can really change and transform a build beyond looking basic and average to being unique and memorable. Underneath that umbrella, you should try to have at least 3 colors on your different builds. That is the color of the frame, the wall filler material, and then the roof itself. I hope this video has given you interesting ideas that you can apply in your own Minecraft building worlds. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more building tutorials and videos like this. Thank you for watching.